So it's 7 a.m. on a quite a crisp winter's day, early March, and we're out here about to run the Yorkshire Three Peaks, training for the 50-mile ultra. So it's time to step things up. We've just left behind Houghton-in-Ribblesdale, a little Yorkshire village where we start from. From there we're following a road for a short section before heading on up. First mountain, Pen-y-Ghent. So we're about to leave behind the road, up onto the fells. Beautiful day for it. Let's go. So Yorkshire Three Peaks is one of England's most well-known distance challenges for running or walking or even cycling. It's a route which takes you up the three highest mountains in Yorkshire, starting with Pen-y-Ghent. You go in an anti-clockwise direction as we are. Then up Whernside, long slog over there, and finally Ingleborough before descending back down into Houghton-in-Ribblesdale. And it's a very well established path, and it is well signposted, so navigation is relatively straightforward. That said, it's certainly a good idea to have the maps downloaded on your phone, and ideally still to have a map and a compass and the knowledge of how to navigate. In poor weather conditions, it's still very much possible to lose your way up here. So the initial approach to Pen-y-Ghent is a fairly gradual ascent, and you kind of hit the right hand shoulder of the mountain before turning left, and it does become a slightly steeper profile with some steeper steps up to the summit. But the good news is, within a couple of miles you've already bagged your first mountain and you're well into the trek. Because by this point you're already above 500 meters, summit's not far away, and we've got an amazing sunrise just ahead of us. Happy days. So we just got to the top of Pen-y-Ghent. After a short rocky section, there's a nice flat rocky stone slabs approach to the summit, and yeah, it took us about 35 minutes or so to get up here. So that's one mountain down, 2 more to go. So next up, Whernside, way over there in the distance. We've got a long slog to get there, but it's good terrain, so let's go and do it. So as you come down from Pen-y-Ghent summit, there's a sign pointing you in the direction of the Yorkshire Three Peaks route. Make sure you follow that. You'll come down some very obvious stone steps, and then you join a rockier, flatter section of path, which will lead you down towards Whernside and down the valley. Easy enough to follow. So as you're making your way down Pen-y-Ghent, the views really start to open up, and from there you can see down to Whernside straight ahead, and Ingleborough over to the left. Good visibility anyway. And you'll see that it is a long stretch to get over to Whernside, so the gradient's pretty easy, but yeah, you need some good endurance in your legs to get across there. The route once again kicks up as you approach the top of Whernside, so we're on that long stretch now and feeling good. So we're just closing in on 9 miles, and we're somewhere about halfway between Pen-y-Ghent and Whernside, and we've just hit a section of road. So there's about a mile or so on the road, which takes you over to Ribblehead Viaduct, which is unmissable. And then we've got a big sort of horseshoe loop, which circles around, takes us up to the top of Whernside. So as you continue up the valley on your approach to Whernside, you do need to pay attention to the path. There's a couple of different options, but you want to head over a small bridge over the river, and then continue over the railway tracks, and there the path kicks up to the side of Whernside, and you'll be on your way to the summit. So we've just done over 12 miles now, so we're about halfway through the route, yet we're still not quite at the top of Whernside. It's just there, so we're about to take a left-hand turn and now begin the approach proper. Let's continue. We can now see where we came from. Pen-y-Ghent way over there in the background, and Ingleborough just on my left hand side there. Still a beautiful morning, very little wind, although it's around 0 degrees. Stunning day for the start of March, and still very quiet. So just coming up to the top of Whernside now. It's the highest of the Three Peaks, 736 metres, and by the time you get to the top, you've done about 14 miles, so that leaves you with about 10 and one mountain left. There's a bit of cloud coming in, temperatures drop slightly, but it's just on the summit, so once we're back down of here, we're back in the sun, and then we can make our way over to Ingleborough. Alright, just made it up to the top of Whernside. Slight breeze coming in, but wow, amazing morning. The sun just coming through this thin layer of cloud. It's a little bit frosty up here, but absolutely beautiful. So that's summit number 2. Less than 3 hours in, so we're looking good. 10 miles left, one mountain. Let's go and do it. So after you've reached Whernside, you head through a small gap in the wall, take a right, and that's you turning down towards Ingleborough. The visibility is good. You can see across to the mountain quite easily, and the distance between the two is only around 5 miles, so it's not super far. It's a slightly steeper descent, and you have got one tough hill as you approach Ingleborough, which you'll see shortly. But for now, we'll head down. It's a slightly rocky descent, but it makes its way quite directly over to Ingleborough. So onwards now to the last mountain. Soon enough, you'll be back down in the valley, and actually in the high season, there is a little shop here, a little shop where you can get some hot drinks, snacks, get some refreshments. In the low season, there are still a couple of vending machines where you can top up on your snacks. So after completing your descent down Whernside, you do hit the road once again, take a brief left turn, you're about 200 yards up the road, and then turn right again, back onto the tracks. It's worth mentioning that the hub that you passed by just there does have a defibrillator. Never know when you might need to know about that. And then you're back on the trails, and it's time to head up Ingleborough. So we just hit 18 miles, we're about 3.5 hours in, and we're about to hit the steepest section of the entire route, and that is the climb up Ingleborough. And initially it is a flattish approach, but then suddenly the slope really kicks up. It's not quite a scramble, but it's certainly not runnable. So I'm going to head up there, and then you take a right hand turn up towards the summit, and that's the final peak. Finally reached the top of that climb. Good news is that's all of the tough climbing over with. So there we go, top of Ingleborough, second highest mountain in Yorkshire, and the third peak on the Yorkshire Three Peaks round. And so we've just hit 19.6 miles. That is all the climbing done. So now we're about 4 hours in, and got about 4.5 miles. Head back down into Houghton-in-Ribblesdale. So one thing to pay attention to when you're descending off Ingleborough is, as you turn to go back, you follow the same path, but it's a very poorly defined path, and in poor visibility it's quite easy to head off in the wrong direction. So that's where having a GPS or a map is really useful. You want to be heading back on the same path for around half a mile or so, and then the path is going to split and head right down towards the village. We're now a couple of miles outside of the village on the final push, and feeling okay. This section does drag, so from Ingleborough back down to Houghton does feel like a long stretch on tired legs. It's all downhill though, and a couple of nice pubs waiting for you at the bottom. So we made it back to the car, 24.5, actually closer to 25 miles, 1,500 metres climbing the 3 highest peaks in Yorkshire, and did it in 5 hours 5 minutes, so pretty happy with that. Hope you've enjoyed following this. This is an amazing route, I would highly recommend it. It's not an easy route, whichever way you cut it. It's a long walk or a long run, and requires endurance, determination, and an ability of going up and down some pretty tricky hills. But come and get out there, enjoy it. Top tip, do it midweek and avoid the crowds. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. There's lots more content on my YouTube channel. I'd love for you to go and check that out, all things adventure. So I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Please subscribe. We'll see you again soon.